Okay. Okay, now I'm going to double check.
Please excuse our technical difficulties because our tech person's not here today.
So it says it's going live, right?
Yeah.
Okay. It says it's going live.
Does it look good like that? I'll put it down
Okay.
on the steps. Let me try down the steps.
Yes. Let's see.
Because now that it's faced this
Right.
way, it might look different. I just, you know what?
Is it better that way?
Well, I just realized I didn't connect that thing.
Oh, I see. Thank you so much for being here. Let us know if you can hear us. Edna and I are trying to make it work today because our tech person is not here with us today. Okay, so mic check. Say hello in the chat. Let me know if you guys can hear me. I'm gonna go out and come back in. I know it's 11:32. Okay, one innocent. All right. What's going on? Okay. This should be, I'm gonna wait for you to come in so that, okay. Just to make sure we're both in here.
Are you? Is that okay? Or need to go closer to you?
Okay. Wells Adventures, are you on? All right. Well, just doing a quick mic check.
Yeah. Testing. Yeah. Testing.
Okay. Oh, perfect.
See, we can do it all.
Yeah. See?
We got this.
See, we can do it. Okay.
That's great.
I'm gonna have you go ahead and talk. I'm just gonna share this to our Facebook page real quick.
Yes, thank you so much for those chiming in. We're so sorry for this technical issues. Thank you
Okay.
so much for your patience.
Mm,
It's such a beautiful day outside. It feels so
I
nice,
know
not too hot.
it was raining a little bit
It was rain,
earlier.
yes. So that's good for our plants.
Okay. All right, here we go. We're just gonna take off from here, okay? Kim, if you hop on and you see us, we tried. We tried, okay? Miss so Edna and I we had to set up the lights and the stand for the recording and just all of this. And usually Kim is the one who gets that ready for us. So Kim, we appreciate you. Thank you for helping us with that because we got to experience it for ourselves today. Okay. But anyway, we'd like to say welcome back to another episode of What Anna Said podcast. Happy Friday, everybody. Just like Anna said, it's a beautiful day here in Texas. If you know me, I love rainy days. I love gloomy days. So when I say it's a beautiful day, that's what I'm referring to. But I see the sun is coming out, so it is going to be a beautiful day today. And so the last time that we were here today, we shared about the event that has now passed, the Eminem benefit dinner. And so we had that here at Dawson Morris in Hearst. Thank you to everybody who came, supported. They were a part of that day's event. It was such a treat watching the little champs be able to share their talents with us, their songs and their performances. And it was a joy to be a part of that and watch it happen here live here at Dustin Moore. So just thank you to everyone who came, supported, whether you bought a ticket or you purchased any of the Little Champs merch, their cookies. It was so much fun. So thank you to those who made it. Thank you to those who shared, everyone who supported. Thank you to all of
Thank
you.
you so much. And the children had a lot of fun. It was a really great time. So thank you for sharing that moment with us.
Yes, it was a good time with everybody and just watching them walking the stage that we're on right now. And just, they were so confident. They were just, I know watching Faki, my niece, when she was on the stage and she was just walking around and looking at people and singing, I was like, okay, you have too much power. Because when I was your age, I don't know, I could not
And
have
that's
done
exactly, remember, Anna, like we spoke about that before. It's like no matter how many times we watch these performances, because obviously being one of the Little Champs teachers, we're continuously watching them practice and practice. But we never get tired of watching them going to what the book we've been learning about just in the chapter alone, who you are, seeing them do what they're supposed to be doing.
Exactly.
You just never get tired of seeing that.
No, definitely not. It was a fun night, and so I'm looking forward to more of that, more of what the Little Champs are doing. And for those of you who are watching, who usually hop on here and watch us, Kim is not with us today. The other co-host on this platform, she is in Hawaii with her family, with her mother-in-law's family for a funeral. So we just our thoughts and prayers to Kim and her family as they're out there, and we miss them, but they'll be back soon. And also Wells Adventure. She's always here behind the scenes, making sure that we have everything set up the way that we need to. So shout out to Sally, part of our co-host team here, and she's making sure that we are not lagging, making sure that you can hear us as we should be on live. So, and
Let's just say good morning.
yep, I see that she joined us, and also Mark Frenzy.
Yes, thank you. What's up,
I
Mark?
just want to say hello, Mark. Welcome. And so on this platform, this podcast, right now we're walking through our series and we're diving into this book, and it's called Formed Underwater. And this is a book that is under our foundation. You can purchase the book on Amazon if you'd like to follow along with us. And if not, you can still join in because we go over each page together here live. So you can either join us at Dawson Morris in Hearst if you're here in Texas, and we have this conversation live here, or you can join us on YouTube or save this and play it back later whenever you have time to follow along. So we're back to Formed Underwater. We took a break last week, but we're back here finishing up chapter 1. And before we go into the remaining pages from where we left off the last time, I'm going to go ahead and kick this off to Edner. And Edner, please walk us through the recap before we go through chapter 1
Absolutely.
today.
Thank you for everyone who's joining in. And if you are new, you have not missed much because the good thing is we're ending chapter 1. But I'm going to help you catch up to everything that we're doing. And just like Anna said earlier, please watch all the other things because you don't want to miss all the conversations we had because we have been diving really deep because we are in chapter 1, who you are, identity. And that's such a huge topic to cover. So go ahead and watch all those and then come back and see what else we've been catching up on. But the last thing we dived into was the pipeline years. We've been talking about the pipeline years because we've talked about how sometimes those struggling years, the years that tried you, that we've given it names, and we shared a couple. I've shared one of the years, and I kind of want to take that back. But but it was. I call it the my plague years. And so whatever those years look like to you. So the author took us to those years of what that looked like, the pipeline years. And we loved it so much because like he said, the main thing was I was doing everything I knew how to do. And he was talking about how he wasn't reckless and how he wasn't irresponsible or wasn't trying to avoid his duties. And he was a hardworking man, providing, showing up and trying and doing all the things that we think that is the right things to do according to the best of his knowledge and his understanding. And yet nothing seemed to work in his favor. And that is something that many of us has gone through that we can absolutely relate to. But what he discovered, amongst a lot of things, is that he didn't realize it then, but he was not failing at life. He was living without clarity of identity.
Right.
And so in that discovering, he realized that the pipeline years didn't break him, but it revealed something crucial to him, that doing the right things without understanding who you are eventually will drain you. So I can't wait to dive into the next thing that we have for us today.
Exactly. Thank you so much, Enner, for walking us through that. For those who are joining us in for the first time, maybe. So, like Edner said, we're still going through chapter 1, and we're going to wrap up chapter 1 today. And we recently, the last time we were on here, spoke about the pipeline years. And that was just the name that was, put on this season in our lives and living on Pipeline Road. That's why it was referred to as the pipeline years. And so Edna shared her own story and her own experiences. And she said, a time in her life where she reflects and looks at those years in her life as the plague years.
Yeah.
And so, but sometimes it is that deep.
Yeah.
Like it is that significant. It is that terrible.
Yeah.
And so thank you, Anna, for sharing that with us, because I know every single week we come here and we share our stories and just being vulnerable
Yes.
and sharing everything that we're walking through together in this book. And that's always been the goal here, even with our viewers, just to walk alongside each other and to see yourself in this book, to see yourself in these pages, and the things here that you may be going through or you may identify with, but not really have the language to describe or recognize what it is that you're walking through. And so that's what we're doing.
That's exactly what we're doing.
Right,
And I love
exactly.
it that we are able to, first of all, when you give a title to those years, you know you've gone through some things. And so being able to just be here and talk about these things and having you all join us, please go in the comments and write what those years, did you name those
Right,
years, those
right.
tough years, the seasons that
Seriously.
felt like it broke you, but really built
Listen.
you. Let us
Okay.
know what that season was for you, what you call
Right.
those seasons, and how you're
Exactly.
doing right now in this season. Because
Mhm.
it's exactly what we're doing. It doesn't stop.
No.
It's,
No.
struggles doesn't stop.
Yeah.
Hardship does not stop. It continues. But like how we deal with it and learning
Right.
about our identity, who you are, being
Right.
able to go through these trials now,
Mhm.
learning from those pipeline years,
Yes.
whatever those years that you gave a name to.
Right.
That's what we're here for, being
Mhm.
able to help you recognize those things.
Right.
As we are, like we always say, that becoming the journey and discovering it
Yes.
all together.
Yes. Exactly. Thank you, Edna. That's true, because the thing about seasons that I praise God for is that there is a beginning and an end. Thank goodness that there was an end to those pipeline years. But yeah, so we're walking through. If you are following along with your book, we're on page 21 toward the end there, and we're right under where it says breathing underwater. Okay, breathing underwater. So the book is called Formed Underwater, and this portion of chapter 1, where we're at, is titled Breathing Underwater. And so it says there, looking back now, there is something important I need to say about those pipeline years. And that's what we just talked about, those years, or even for energy, the plague years. And so it says, despite everything falling apart around me, I never truly believed my life was over. I was discouraged, confused, and worn down, but never worn out. I felt like I was drowning, yet somehow I could still breathe underwater. And I just want to take a pause there and just talk about the title Breathing Underwater, and the author going around and saying, I was discouraged, confused, even worn down, but never worn out. Felt like I was drowning, but somehow I could still breathe underwater. And that breathing underwater, how it's a paradox for survival in impossible conditions. Have you ever went through something and it just feels like there's no way that I'm still here, I'm still alive, that I'm still making it. There shouldn't be. I shouldn't still be standing. And so when I look at this part here and thinking about breathing underwater, that's what I think about. How how the author describes that survival in these impossible conditions, just being completely discouraged, confused, and worn down, but never worn out. Somehow still breathing underwater.
I love that so much because as I was reading it, the reason why I called my years the plague years is because for so many years I identified myself with the struggles. I let my struggles or whatever those years brought me identify who I was. And so just keeping in mind your identity and who you are. I love that he says, I was discouraged, confused, worn down, but never worn out.
Right.
I didn't discover that till the very end of those years. Of like, oh wait, like how I think about or how I'm coming out of this really does matter.
Right.
The change of renewing my mind matters. And so it was just really interesting that now I can look back and be thankful for those things.
Right.
When in the midst of it, I was
Wow.
identifying myself as nothing, like everything good happens to other people, or, maybe I am an angry person, right? When you don't know your identity, you begin
Right.
to identify yourself with the things that
Right.
that we're not supposed to. And so I'm really thankful that he said that
Wow.
because a lot of us, if we don't be
Right.
careful with what we take in, we do
Right.
identify ourselves with those things.
Wow. I love that you said that or I'm thinking about how true that is, and you talking about sometimes you're going through something and then you adopt that as your identity.
Yeah.
You think that, nothing good happens to me, it happens to them. I'm supposed to suffer. I'm supposed, whatever
Yeah.
thing that you're going through, you start to believe that this is all there is for you.
And just like the attitude behind it.
Yeah.
Like having, oh, here we go again.
Right.
And that's so tiring to feel like that all the time.
Right. Yes. And so, like you said, tiring. And that's, the author saying they're being worn down, just completely worn down, but never worn out. And when I think of that, because there is a difference between that, there is a specific distinction between being worn down but never worn out. And when I think of that, I think about depletion versus defeat. You can be completely depleted of all the things good. You can be depleted of, your energy and sometimes hope in a situation, but never defeated. And a lot of times when I think about exhaustion, you think exhaustion means the end. Like, this is it. This is the end. There's nothing more to give. I'm at my wit's end. Like, there's no more. I can't even see tomorrow. But exhaustion is not the end. And I think about a lot of times I come across videos on YouTube or TikTok, and it's, marathon runners. And sometimes right before they get to the finish line is when they're the most worn down, broken down, depleted of energy, of, they're dehydrated, just whatever they're going through, even to where they fall, their legs cannot even carry them anymore. And still you see that runner, that person still with the finish line, right there in front of them. Yes,
you can see it in their
they
eyes.
did not give it.
I need to get there.
Yeah, they might be dragging, they might be crawling, but you can still see that spirit in them that they have not given up. And so when I see this, that's the picture that comes to my mind, just being discouraged, confused, worn down, but never worn out. You feel like you're drowning, but somehow I'm still breathing underwater. I'm in a situation where I shouldn't be here, but why am I still alive? Why am I still surviving? And so that's the picture that is painted when I read what the author says there. And the author continues on the next paragraph, and he says, that may not make sense to someone who has never lived through a season like that. And that is so true. A lot of times, we assume that everyone has the same experiences in one way or another with us. I know for you, a lot of times when you speak about your childhood, you speak to me as if I would, as if I'm supposed to understand, or you speak to me with that, and I know a lot of times I just tell like, Edna, this is not that's not normal. This is not a and so, but that's so true. It might not make sense to someone who has never lived through a season like that. And sometimes when you tell someone your story, the first thing they say is, I couldn't imagine like how you're still standing here today. Mhm. And so it says, goes on to say, but if you have, you understand exactly what I mean. And I love that, because as you read this, as a reader, as our audience, as you're reading through this, you know, just if you've ever been through any season like that or times like that, reading that you feel seen. Like, now, okay, someone else has gone through this. I'm not the only person who has gone through this difficult time. That somebody else, that the person that's writing this book knows exactly the path that I have taken or what I'm going through right now.
But even as a person who has gone through just things that really, really hardships, even as we are speaking, I think as an adult, we are looking in, is that we all can relate to emotions. Have you ever been angry before? Have you ever felt depressed? Have you ever felt sad? So I do understand that we do also go through a lot of similar things, because we all have these emotions within us, and how we take things in those seasons. So I'm discovering that, okay, I'm not alone. We all have felt this way before.
Exactly. And so the author continues to explain some of the ways, if you have been through it or not, just describing the way that it feels when you're in the midst of that season. And he says it's the strange tension of being overwhelmed without being overpowered, pressed down but not crushed, unsure yet still quietly held. And reading that perfectly describes that in between space. When you're in between, you're going through all of these things, you're being pressed down, you're being overwhelmed, you're worn down, discouraged, all of those things. But somehow in that in between space, there is something there that keeps you held.
I know last, as we spoke about this, I got to explain one of the last season in the years of my plague years is how there was a season we almost thought we were going to be homeless. And
okay, first of all, that's so real. Like, that's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about. Like, Edna just brings up these real life experiences. But thank you for sharing that.
But in that season, hold on with me. In that season, because when you're speaking, I remember those things. Have you ever been in a hardship where literally you have no control? And someone like me, who is a planner, I am a diehard organizer. I am someone who's very detailed. Everything is planned out to the T. That was a season staying in the hotel and thinking to myself, there's nothing that I could add or take away from this situation. This is it for us. And something just has to move, right? And so in that season, that's when I really had to hold on to, when it says unsure yet still quietly held, it brought me back to the scripture that I had on my hotel room, in the door, in the fridge. And it was from Psalms 46:10, which says to be still and know that I am God. And I fought with God. I fought God with that one in the very beginning, because I thought, Lord, how do you be still in the circumstances like these? Remember, I'm not sure if whatever pipeline years that you've gone through, how do you be still in this season? But I've discovered that it's less about your body being still, but being anchored. And the author does speak about that. The importance of knowing who you are is like being anchored. Nothing will move you. Nothing will shake you. And so I remember God teaching me to solely depend on Him. And you know how hard it is to let go when everything
Do
everything
I?
looks like it's falling apart. You don't even know where to go, but God's like, be still. It was like calmness, like he's talking about here, being overwhelmed without being overpowered. And I kind of feel like, I'm not sure, when I'm reading it, it's more an emotion that I feel with him. It's like I when it comes to identity, it's like I know who I am. I have to be calm in here. When I think about stillness, I think about calmness, being calm in the midst of a storm. And just solely for me was solely depending on God, knowing that He was the God. You literally have to move this. You're the only one who can. So solely just depending on Him really, really changed my entire life, because if you're not anchored, you do start, like I said it earlier, you do start to agree with what the season is saying to you. But because He brought us out of such a hardship, the hotel really was easy. I know it's so weird to say that, but being pulled away from that tough season and sit in a hotel, well, all I did have to do was depend on God, even though there was such a storm that was going on around me. I felt at peace because I knew who I am. I knew who I was in Him. So I knew that He's going to take care of me. If He brought me through this, and He brought me through that, like this right here, to who God is to me, I thought, this is easy for you, God. So you're teaching me something here. And He did. It was 2 months, but anyhow, just in that season, He taught me so much within that time of just solely being still in His presence and knowing that He was going to move. But just to share that it's so hard to lose control of everything and just being able to just be still and just and being able to just trust God and all of these things, not knowing what's going to happen.
Wow, thank you so much for sharing that. And I know we talked about it before, and I literally was in your life when this was happening. And but just hearing about it and just knowing the inside of your thoughts and stuff while that season was happening in your life, and knowing that that is what you're saying is completely true, because I witnessed it, was that complete rest and trust in God's authority, in His sovereignty, and in Him as Jehovah Jireh, the provider, and just all of those things. I really saw that in your life, in your family while you were going through that, and I know that you literally did that because there's no other option. There's no other option. And sometimes, I'm like, okay, God, you've stripped me from, like, you've stripped me from everything, and so. But the beauty in that is that all I have is you, and that's all you need.
That is the beauty,
right?
yes.
Yeah, that's the beautiful thing about that. So, I always love whenever you share your testimony or parts of it, and because that is so true. Seeing it, being a witness to it, and how powerful that has spoken to me too. Just being there in your life and seeing how God answered and solved your problems during that time, that transition, and not knowing if you were going to have a home, not knowing what tomorrow will look like, but knowing that God sustained you. And that's one thing that kept coming up in my mind as I looked at that breathing underwater, and just thinking about, this is a situation where survival is impossible, but why am I still breathing? Why am I still alive? And knowing that it's God who has been sustaining me through this impossibility.
Because the author talks about, and we're going to catch you up if you hear you're perfect, because he does, the reason why he got into this place, we talk about leaving Fiji.
Yes.
And that story, this is your child. So
Right.
help me here. But all the things that comes with leaving a place that was like a beautiful place for you guys.
Right.
And then him going to school over there. He was going to seminar and things like that, right? And then as we speak about foreigners coming here to the mainland, it's like, this is a dream to come here. Everything was like the excitement building up to get here, just to fall into disappointment of what it brought, because again, caught up into life. The life here in America, it moves fast. You have got to hold on when you get here. So seeing just his encouragement, even here, staying on and discover, like in the midst of his storm, he's trying to discover things. He's asking questions. He's trying to find the answers to these things. And so I love that you can see that hope coming alive as the pages are going through. We're going through these pages.
Yes. And thank you for bringing that up too, because I believe, we've talked about this before in the beginning too, that in each and every one of us, that innate desire of more, because that, purpose is the original design of the Creator. And so in all of us, as the author is going through this, just that thinking about the marathon, the runner in the race, and being completely worn down, that your body can't even hold you up, and still knowing there's more, like I gotta finish. I'm not finished. I'm not finished.
And I
That there's
love you
more.
mentioned that vision, because you see it, like I said earlier, you see it in their eyes that they're looking at the end mark.
Right.
They're like, I'm going to get there. I'm not sure
Yeah.
where my body is,
Right.
but I am going to get there. That
Mhm.
determination.
Yes.
And we've spoken in earlier podcasts about this book. It's like, you're going to be looking like, and the author has spoken about just, you're going to see the vision before, you're already seeing it.
Mhm.
And I was going to find the sorry, it's going to take us to that. But I love that you kind of already see that he's already seen something.
Right.
Even in the midst of this, like, there's something here.
Right.
I got to press
exactly.
on.
Yes.
I'm going to find that.
Yes, but completely true. There's got to be more. And so the in the next group of paragraphs here, the author dives deeper into that and saying, I didn't have clarity, but I had conviction. And so it says, I didn't have direction, but I had an anchor. And this goes back to your story that you were talking about, even in the midst of the unknown, the unknowing, and not knowing about what's going to happen tomorrow. Am I going to have a home? What's happening to my family? But having that anchor in the storm. And so he says, even in my lowest moments, I never doubted that I was meant for something more. Exactly. And the author goes on to clarify, which I'm so grateful for, because it says, okay, I was meant for something more. More what? It says, not more money, not more recognition, but more meaning, more impact, more alignment with who I was created to be. The quiet assurance didn't come from success. It didn't come from circumstances. It came from something deeper, something older than my struggles and stronger than my confusion. Praise God for that. And it was that realization that led me to the next question I didn't know I needed to ask. So before we get to that next question, I just want to take a moment to talk about what we just read over here. And it's the same thing that the author talks about with that in between space we talked about earlier, about being worn down but not worn out, about not having clarity but having conviction. And I love that so much, seeing that, because sometimes you don't know what's going on. You're in a fog, you're in a haze, you don't understand the things around you, you're confused, all of those things, those external things that are happening. But having that conviction, and because conviction comes from your design, that's internal, that comes from the inside, that's within you from the start. That's something that's always there. So just seeing that the author talks about that, I didn't have clarity, but I had conviction. And so the author continues to say, even in my lowest moments, I never doubted that I was meant for something more. Even though everything around me is collapsing, everything around me is not going my way, I'm fighting this uphill battle. All of these things that are happening, pressed down, overwhelmed, but something inside him refusing to agree with the collapse that's around him. The environment is so loud, but it has no authority over him, has no authority over his purpose, his design, that conviction. And so that's the thing that kept coming to mind as I was reading that, was just thinking about, sometimes you're in the midst of the storm and everything is going crazy and everything is haywire, but something inside you, that longing, that whatever it is, just knowing that, no, I was meant for more. There's something here. Yeah.
And as I spoke about, well, first of all, I love that. Yes, so good, so good. And but as I spoke about earlier about learning the stillness in that season, you reminded me something, because stillness is where you learn how to be still, right? You remember who you are before the noise gets too loud. And I can see that in Arthur. But one of the things I was talking about earlier that I love here is, and you'll find it on page 14, but I'll go ahead and read it, is that page 14, it says, that was when I saw the light, not a manufactured optimism, but not a motivational slogan, but the true light that gives life and direction to all who encounters it. And the reason why it brought me to remember that, because you can sort of see the vision, the eyes, and the yearning in his eyes, like you mentioned, but the picturing someone in the marathon, their body is so weak, they're so tired, but you can see the yearning to that finish line. And you know how I am with words, so I looked that up, what manufactured optimism can mean,
Right.
but it involves seeing a future world that doesn't exist yet
Mhm.
as if it already does.
Mhm.
And so I love that he had that, like, no, like, there, like you said, I'm here. It, not more recognition, but more meaning, more
Mhm.
impact. You can see literally him just
Right.
transforming.
Right, exactly. And thank you for sharing that, by the way, going back, because it all ties to
Yes, it
what
does.
we're talking about right here now. But that's true. And you reading over that, not more money, not more recognition, but meaning, impact, and alignment with who I was created to be. And just that reminder, because who you were created to be is something that cannot be taken away from you. If you were, created for more money, more recognition, more meaning, all those, I mean, not more meaning, sorry. Let me slow down my mind. But more money, more recognition, titles, whatever it is, those things can be taken away from you. Those things are variables and factors that can change depending on your environment, your mood, your all these outside factors. But your the author speaking about alignment with who he was created to be, that doesn't change. That is solid. That's a unchanging factor.
And it just always blows my mind because we're saying it as if it's new information. It's like wow, but
Mm-hmm.
it's like it's so simple when you think about it. As we touched earlier in this on here, we talked about the M&M program that we had, and just the idea of making money, just being who you are. It's like
Mm-hmm.
what does that even what?
Mm-hmm.
It's literally what it is. So it's just seeing, like he's saying, the impact comes from just simply just being who you are.
Right, exactly. Being who you are, who you were created to be all
Yes.
along. And so, just thinking about seasons, have you ever been in a season where nothing makes sense? Because this is what the author's talking about here. Nothing makes sense. That, being overwhelmed, but still feeling anchored, and or recognizing the conviction when clarity is gone. All of these realizations led the author to ask this next question that he didn't know he needed to ask. And that's sometimes the thing that's a place that we need to come to in order to cross the threshold or move to the next level. Is sometimes there's a question there that needs to be asked that we're not asking, or we're not even aware that it needs to be asked. And that question here for the author was, where do I come from? Where do I come from? Because if I could still breathe in a place where I should have drowned, then something about my origin mattered more than my environment. I love that
Love that,
so much.
yes.
Something about the beginning, something about where I came from, something about that. I need to know more of that, because that it matters more than what's going on right now. Because for some reason, that's going to give me the pieces of the puzzle that answers the question of, why am I still breathing underwater? Why am I still existing? Why am I still alive in a place that should have taken me out, in a place where I should have drowned, where I should not survive? And so,
And I love these questions because it does truly make you think.
exactly.
Like just the beginning, who
Mhm.
are you?
Right.
Oh, I remember when we first read that, we're like, huh?
Right.
And then now
Wait,
it's,
what?
where do I come from? And
Right.
when you're first seeing it, you're like, oh, why did I ever think that that's a question that I need to sit with? Why does this question even matter?
Right.
So I love that he's introducing something
Right.
that has always been there, but coming to the
Exactly.
forefront of us, like you need to
Yes.
deal with these questions,
Yes.
because this is what's going to help you get to the next thing,
Right.
to figure out this discovery of your identity, of who you are.
Exactly. And that's so funny that you brought that up, because that was our reaction was,
Yeah.
who are you? Who are you? Who am I? And so coming here to, where do I come from? And just going through this part of the author's story, and just being reminded of the truth that anything that is still alive has not completed its purpose. Anything that is still alive, yes, you're underwater, yes, you're still,
You breathe though, right?
right, yes, you're barely making it, but you are alive. You're alive, and you have not completed your purpose. You're not finished yet. And so,
That's a good. Just to pause there a little bit.
yeah,
It's like if you're here watching with us, that is good news for you.
right,
You're here. You have not completed your purpose,
right.
and so this is a discovery for you to make, and we're gonna help you get through
Exactly.
that just as much
Right.
as we're helping ourselves.
Yes, we're helping ourselves here too. So that's a big truth
Yeah.
right there. But the end of this chapter here, we are left with some of these reflection questions. So, a moment of reflection for us, for our viewers, for your readers, when you get to this point in chapter one. And these are things that it's to take a moment and ask yourself. And we've asked ourselves this as well, going through the book here. And the first bullet point here says, who am I when no one needs anything from me?
Huh? What?
Right. Oh, I don't know. That's you have to really take some time to think
Yeah.
about that.
It's
And
like uncovering an onion when I
yeah, peeling back the
yes,
layers.
there we go.
Yeah.
Peeling back because every day someone needs something from me. Every day there's a need to give, right? And so when I first saw this question, you really need to sit with this, especially uncovering chapter one and then coming to the end of it
Yeah.
and taking all the information that you've been learning. Now you can answer these questions.
Right.
So who am I?
Exactly. Who am I when no one needs anything from me? And if these questions make you uncomfortable, even though you're having an internal dialogue with yourself and you're thinking that to yourself and you're the only person in the conversation, but if they make you uncomfortable, good. Let's start there. So who am I when no one needs anything from me? And there's so many ways that, when you're thinking about this, tired, creative, maybe, or unsure. But
Are you still a kind person when no one
right,
needs you? Who are you behind those closed doors
right,
in your home?
performing,
Yes.
So yeah, take a moment and be real with yourself and ask yourself those questions. Think on these questions too, as we take the time before next week and come back to chapter two. But these are good to take with you each day and to think on them and to ponder about them. Who am I when no one needs anything from me? The next one is, what labels have I been living under?
Yeah.
What labels have I been living under? And there's a second part of that question there, which says, which ones were given to me and which ones did I accept without questioning? And that's the thing, because as soon as you come into this world, I feel like the labels are there from the beginning. Whether I know, oldest,
Yeah.
oldest,
Yes.
or strong, responsible, fixer, survivor, or failure, disappointment. There's so many. What are the labels that you are living under? Which ones were given to you? Which ones did you accept without even questioning, without pushing back on it? Which ones have you been answering to? And so,
That's a good one. Which one have you been answering to?
right.
Yeah.
And so these, and these can come in from your family, from your teachers, from your peers, even from strangers.
Yeah. Unfortunately, it's easier to answer the ones that other people gives you. When I think about these questions,
Yeah.
these two, which ones were given to me, it's like all the list comes to me, right? The fear that was given to me, the doubts that was given to me, or being called shy, or being called other things. It just immediately comes to you versus the one that says, "What labels have I been living under?"
Very true. And it's funny because you said being called shy, because that was, I know for you, that was one that people always described you as, but you are not.
Yeah.
You are not shy at all.
Because the one that
If
says, "What
anything,
labels have I been living under?" It's like you're the one doing this to yourself. That's kind of how I see it. Like, I know, what are you allowing? How are you giving to yourself to live
right?
under?
Yeah,
But
yeah.
yeah, the shyness is.
For me too, when I read that, that was one thing that came to mind, is what have you been answering to?
Yeah.
What have people been labeling and what have you been accepting and answering to? And so one thing that the author stresses here, which I love, is that you don't need to answer these perfectly. You only need to answer them honestly. And so have that conversation with yourself. Take that time to reflect and ask yourself these questions, because clarity always begins with the truth. Mhm. And so, what's coming next here as we come to the end of chapter one is, in the next chapter, we will explore why identity must come before origin. So that's one thing that, I have a question about, because usually when we talk origin, we think that's the beginning, that's the
Yeah.
very start. But something interesting that we see here that the author is telling us is that identity comes before origin. It comes before origin, purpose, or destiny. And how misunderstanding identity quickly shapes every decision we make. Because if you get it wrong from the start, everything after that is off the mark. And so the author is hinting to us that that's what we're going to be talking about next, which I'm excited about, origin. But I feel like we've gone through the pages here about identity, but there's still a lot of work to do.
A lot of work.
Yeah.
That's what comes next is the work.
Right. Yeah. Before the origin, it comes the work.
The peeling back.
Right.
Being
Peeling
honest.
back.
Yes. Facing it.
Yes. Facing the
That's
music.
the work I'm talking about.
Right. Having that honest conversation
Yeah.
with yourself, asking these questions and answering them honestly for yourself. And but before we move on, we definitely want to take a pause here and reflect on everything that we have learned so far, everything that we have walked through with chapter 1 about identity. I'm just going back to chapter 1 here.
Yes.
And in this chapter, we talked about.
And you'll find that on page 16.
Yes. And some of the truths that we've already discussed here is, if you don't know who you are, you will spend your whole life trying to earn worth instead of living
That's
from
right.
it.
In the beginning, before you even dive into it, it's before you decide where you are going, like you said,
Exactly.
you must know who you are.
You must know who you are. Exactly. And so thank you so much, Enner, for sharing with us, sharing your experiences, sharing your stories. Every time we come here, you always walk us through another dramatic part of your past. So thank you so much for being honest with that. But um, like we said, the reflection questions that we have before we move on, I just want to mention them one more time. Who am I when no one needs anything from me? Who am I when no one needs anything from me? What labels have I been living under? Which ones were given to me and which ones did I accept without questioning? And then again, you only need to answer that honestly.
Yes. And please share them in the comments, or next time you come on, we're here every Friday from at 11:30 going live. And so we would love to hear all the answers that you have, because like I said, this is a journey for all of us to go on, and it does not have to be a lonely journey. Let us help you walk through this together.
Exactly. Thank you so much, Enner. So yes, like Enner said, you can join us here live at Dustin Morris every Friday at 11:30. You can hop into the live like you are right now. You can save it for later and come back and share your answers with us. You can even purchase the book on Amazon under the Kasitati Foundation, Formed Underwater, and we can walk through it together. But yes, please take some time to reflect on those questions that we've just discussed here and think about them. Come back with your answers. I know that that's our homework for this week, and we'll be doing the same thing. Before we go over into the origin next week, we're going to come back to these questions and discuss them a little bit more before we get to the next chapter. And so take a moment to think about that. Think about the labels that, we never chose, but we answer to. And whatever is spoken over you, whatever is that has been spoken over you, but may not be true to what was created in you. And so think about those things. Who are you when you're not performing, when you're not needed, when everything is stripped away? And be the version of you that's the truth. And so, I just want to leave this with what we always talk about with our little chants, what we talked about with the Eminem, the benefit dinner that we had last week, and the transformation, and just about becoming, which we always say, I'm not what they call me. I'm not what I settle into. I'm who I was created to be, and I'm still becoming. And so thank you guys so much for joining us today. We hope to see you again, same time, same place next week, Friday. And we'll catch you guys on another episode of What Anna Said podcast. Bye. Let me see if I can be the one to turn off this time.
Jimmy.